So here I am. This is Big Daddy O, and I've got myself a new project. The project is a Dyna barbecue. I bought this thing from Home Depot. They had it on sale for about 300 bucks. I just like the overall look of it, and the other thing that I liked is it actually has 4 casters, so you can roll this thing. As you can see, it's the Dyna DFG 486 CSP-D. You can also find it under the GHP website, and it's called a DGF 486. You can see it at the top, and you can find these instructions on there too if you want them in bigger print, and it just makes it overall a lot easier if you have a hard time. These instructions, I've been going through them. They're actually quite simple, and if you're not too quick at tearing all the packaging apart, you will find out that here's the package of screws, and each of the screws actually are marked AA, DD, BB, CC. The CCs, as you can see, I already have emptied, which are lock washers, and the Ds are flat washers. Those are a 4x6, and those are a 6x12 screw. Now I've gone ahead a little bit on the instructions, and I've already put my casters on. The locking casters go to the flat side. There's a flat back portion, that's the back, and the locking casters get screwed on the back with a screw, a lock washer, and then a flat washer, and then it gets mounted down. I'll say it again, it's a screw, a lock washer, a flat washer, and then mounted down. And the 2 locking casters go to the flat back rear portion. On the front side, which is angled, they are simple moving casters. They're nice casters. They're not bearing. They're standard, blow through the plastic push casters, but they should last quite a while. I'm glad it's a 4 caster, not a dragger, and just makes it easier for moving around. Now, next step after you've basically got the casters on, as I've done here, is to flip it right over. And the next step is to mount 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't screw them down all the way. These are the number AA screws again, the big ones. You put them in and you leave them up like that. Now the reason for leaving them up in this case is so that you can take the first panel, which they call panel E. See if you can see that, panel E, which is basically the left side of the whole barbecue, and you just take it and just slide it in. Okay? Oh no, got that on the wrong side. I noticed that I have on the right side of the barbecue. On the right side of the barbecue. There we go. Panel E goes on the right side of the barbecue. Now I'm going to let that sit for a minute, and I'm going to grab the other panel, which is panel H. It's got the big hole in it. It goes on the left side. Okay, there we go, and it just basically slides in like that. Then if you want, you notice I put these screws right there already. You'll need them later anyway. They're the number 6 screws, the DD screws. I've already had this partially together, and I took it apart, and I thought I'd do this video. Now here's the fun part. This thing has a couple of slide hooks, and if you put the screws in like they'll tell you later, and you leave them out just a little bit, then you can take this whole panel. I'll show you what you do. Take the whole panel, and you will just lock it in. So now you got the whole panel kind of locked in. And then what you do is you put the 3 screws in the bottom. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to put those 3 screws. Again, they're the AA screws, or the 6x12, the larger screw. And I'm just going to look for the hole. You notice I haven't really tied anything up yet. I'm going to do that in a minute. I'm going to grab my power tool and basically tie it up. Right now, as you can tell, I'm just trying to hand tighten it. Sometimes it's easier with a screwdriver. Be right back. So I haven't tied up the screws yet. Like I said, I got this here. I got those in the back. I got this. I got that locked in, but not tied up. I got those screws down at the bottom, and those 3 at the bottom. I haven't tied anything up yet. The next thing they're going to tell you to do is to put in this cross brace with the magnets and everything. Remember to put the screw side down. Okay, you can put in those couple of screws again. They're the 4x6, the small ones, the DD screws. Alright, and that will come across in there. Now, what you're going to use is it'll actually put a screw in on the side there to lock it in place. Don't put the upper screws in yet. Yeah, just put in the side screws on both sides, okay? Now, I haven't really tied anything up yet. It's all just a big wobbly box. And, oh, there goes one of the little screws. Anyways, what you're going to do is you're going to take those little, again, DD screws and put they don't tell you to do this, but put the 4 in on either side. Because when you tie this up, all of that has to line up in the beginning. So put in, you notice how it's out of alignment. You put these screws in place to help align things, okay? You can see I put the 2 screws in. The box is still wobbly, but it helps line up those holes, because later on what's going to go in those holes will be your hinges for your door. So at this point, it's time to go and tie everything up. As you're tying up your side panels, make sure to push them in, right? Take your hand, push that panel in to tighten up against the back. And the same with this panel on the right hand side. Just remember to push it in a bit. It clears up that gap in the back there, and it just makes things really nice and tight. And the same for the side. It just tightens up that gap and gives it a nicer finish. Instead of leaving the things big, wide, and open, kind of cleans it up. So what you're going to do now is you're going to tie up your 4 bottom screws here, the 3 screws in the back, the 2 screws on the side, the 2 screws here, the 2 screws there. Tie them all up right now, and we'll be right back. So now you should have tied up your box, and everything's a little bit tighter and a little bit more together. It's still a little, flat, but not bad. So I left those 2 screws up there, tighten the 2 on the sides. Make sure that, again, when you tighten the bottom ones, that you push it back and push it in so that it locks up really nice. As you can see, they kind of have a key lock hole. So you're going to push it back and then push it in so it lines up with that panel. As you can see, there's still a bit of a gap, but not bad. And just kind of make sure it's, all nice and neat, and all the screws on the bottom are tied up. The next thing that's going to happen is you're going to take this panel called panel V, and you're going to put it up here. You screw that in that place, and then you're going to take this one here called panel U, and you're going to screw that up in that place. And that's just to give the whole thing its shape and bracing. Okay, so go ahead and do that. So once you have those in place, you'll notice your box now is much more rigid and solid in shape. And the next step, I believe, is assembling the doors. I'll show you how to do that, and then putting the doors on. Alright, so these 2 screws you'll be taking out to put the door hinges in, so if you want to do that now you can, and then I'll go ahead and show the assembly of the doors. Alright, so here's your door. This is the back of the door, and you'll notice as you go to put your handles, you pull it out of the box, and it's got these 2 black caps with screws at the end of them. Okay, so what you need to do is take those screws off, take the caps, those black caps off the handle, and insert them, the black caps, into these holes. Okay, they're just there for looking nice, I guess. Then what you'll do is you'll flip your door over, and the thing that they're going to tell you is about door bezels. Well, what they're talking about is these things here. There's 4 of them all together, and they basically come in the same box that you got your handles in. And this, you just go ahead then and put your bezels like this and screw it in with the 2 holes. I'm going to do that right now to mine. So as you can see, I got the handle on. little trick for you, or a little tip. When you're putting it on, when you're tying up the screw, just don't tie that first screw in all the way. Kind of leave it, tie it in for a few threads, and then go ahead and put your bezel on and tie the other one in for a few threads, and then go ahead and tie them both up. That way you get the door nice and finished. You got this nice door handle. As you can see, I did the other door already. And now it's time to mount the door. Alright, so it's time to mount the doors, and it's really not too difficult. Just make sure you put the right door on the right side. Shouldn't be too hard anyways. The door marked K goes on the right, and the door marked J goes on the left. And you'll notice there's a big hole here, and the left side door's got all the lighting instructions, and the right side door has got your Dyna glow and the serial number and all that. The best way I can suggest for you to mount the doors is you take the door and you put it into that bottom pinhole right there, like so. Let the door sit on the magnetic latch, and it'll actually hold the door in place for you, so that you can take their door pivot pin, basically put it on here, and remember those two screws I told you to take out? Well, now it's time to put them back into those holes, okay? Go ahead and mount your left and right doors basically the same way, but don't tie them up quite yet, because you'll probably want to line up the doors so they look nice and neat and straight. We'll get to that in just a second. So here I am, a little bright and shiny, but as you can see, I lined up the doors so that there's a nice even gap in the center. And the way you do that, just tighten up the screws very lightly and just move the brackets in or out, you know, and try to make your alignment really nice. It kind of gives it a nice fit and finish at the end when you're looking at it, you know, and it lines up with the edge, and just right across the top looks nice, and you got this even gap instead of tilting it. Also, it gets the doors off the bottom here, so that when you go to open and close, it's not really nice and smooth. It basically doesn't grind on the bottom of your tray. Alright, so there's that part. Time to move on to the next part, which is basically putting the head assembly on, the big piece. So here's your head assembly. You'll notice that you probably had some boxes and things, and you cut the strap off the inside, kind of loosen it up a little bit. But one thing you have to watch out for is before you put the head assembly on, you have to release the regulator that's all tied in here, because it's going to need to hang off to the left side over here when you go put it on, because it needs to be outside the grill area when you go to put the head piece on. So untie all your wraps and your straps and get this thing ready to go. So one of the things I found when I took my straps apart is this metal is bent, but it's really thin metal. It bends quite easy. Just reshape it so it's kind of neat, you know. I don't know, maybe I'm just a bit picky. And you'll notice I have my regulator hanging out here off to the side. It's just it flexes, okay? So just flex it out, and now we're ready to lift this whole unit onto the cart. Just one thing also, you'll notice that there's 4 slots, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you go over to the cart, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 nubs. They're supposed to slide into those holes, okay? So now you've got your headpiece sitting on your barbecue, and the next thing you're going to do is put your screws in. Again, I'm going to suggest that you don't tie them all up until you get all the 4 screws lined up in those holes, and then tie them all up. So ta-da! You finally got your barbecue mounted up on top of there. Hopefully you left this to the outside. You didn't have it hanging inside. You tied it all out. You got your 4 screws tied up. Now it's time to put on the side burner. So here's your side burner. I unpackaged it. The one thing you have to be careful for when you unpackage, your lid will probably drop open on you, and this will probably fall out on you, okay? So just to let you know that that's in there. Also, there's in the instructions, they're going to tell you about all your stuff you're going to need. You're going to find it all in this little box. You got your burner, your gas tube anyway, your knobs, got your grease pan, and then you have your supports for your left and right, okay, for your left and right trays. the left burner tray, the right prep tray. Okay, so just to let you know, it's all in one little tidy box right here, and we're going to go ahead and get the burner tray, the left side burner tray, ready. But first thing we're going to have to do is mount one of these supports. Okay. One quick note on these screws on the side when you mount them in. I hope you remembered, and I know I didn't. I just redid it. I put the washers underneath them. They're supposed to have washers. Okay, so that you don't damage the paint, and then you don't get rusting. Just catch you up real quick on that. Next, like I said, what we're going to do is work with the side burner with the tray. Keep your thumb on it, flip it upside down, and you'll notice two screw holes right there. You're going to grab the one I believe called Q, and you're going to basically take that and mount that on those two screws right there, like so, with a number 6 screw, and then we'll go from there. So while you're at it, you might as well do your prep tray, and just put your 2 screws in. There's how she sits on the prep tray. Just make sure that your back end here is somewhat level and you're kind of nice on the sides. And now we're ready to mount these to the main body. So to mount your burner tray on the left side of the barbecue, what you'll need to do is put a screw here, and they're loose. You just got to leave a gap on there, right? 6 mil gap there as well. And then on the back of your body there's one right there. And you'll leave those open because what you're going to do is take the tray and drop it on there. That's number AA, and then you got your DD screws, 2 of them, one here and one there. Just put them in, but leave a gap. That way you can take your tray and slide it on. I'm going to be doing that to both sides because it's pretty well both the same. Then once you're done, you'll be taking a screw and a washer and putting it through this hole, and this hole, and tying up the tray. That's one of the big AA screws again. So it'll look like this right there, and you put washers on them and stick it on and then screw it on in place. So what you do when you put your tray down is you'll be putting it through that keyhole and dropping it, and on this side again you put it through the little keyholes right there and drop it down, and then you'll be tying up that screw right there to level out your tray, and you put your 3 screws in across the back. So a little thing for you as you put in these side trays, just for you to remember, these screws, just put them in loosely. Do your front one first. It's the most difficult one to do, this front one here. So do it first, get it at least a good halfway threaded, then do your back, and then do your middle one. Once you got those done, then you come in underneath, and you'll need to do that one screw right there. This screw. Put that screw in, and then just tighten these ones up, but not very much. Just leave them a little bit loose. And make mechanical adjustments with a little palm down. You find out you'll need to do that. A little palm back, just to get your nice fit and alignment when you're doing it, so that it looks good. All right. And then again, like I said, remember to tie up these 3 screws right here, right there, and tie them all up and make them all nice and snug. And then it's time to move on to the next step, which is putting the burner in. So here we have the burner knob that we're going to put in place, and you notice there's a screw here and a screw here. What you have to do is remove these 2 screws, and then you'll take this whole assembly and put it up in here. What I'm going to tell you to do is only put the upper screw in place at first, and then you can slide the front decorative bezel on the top. You see there's a screw there, screw mark there. You just slide that on, and then you can tie up the bottom and the top screws together. Here we have the plate, and you'll notice that it's got all these different screw holes and markings in there. The truth is you got to make sure you got it all nice and center, or your knob won't sit properly. And you'll notice how that notched or grooved area kind of points down and to the right there. You're going to need to make sure you do that, or your whole knob assembly will be off center from that wonderful bezel you put on with the flow regulator. Okay? And instantly the knob pops on. As you can see, just make sure your line there, of course, is pointed to the top. So here's the burner pipe, and you'll notice it has these two screws in the bottom. This one here and the one on the other side. You'll be taking those out, and you will then place this burner in there. Now, when you go to place the burner inside, when you go to place it into the lower part, basically through this area here, you'll be placing it down. Okay, and then what will happen is you're going to come below to the regulator down here. Now when you put it on, you want to make sure that this thing is center and in like that. Okay, so it's center and in. It shouldn't be to the top, it shouldn't be to the bottom. It should be nicely about there. Okay, so you can just see there's a bit of an air vent there, and that just barely comes into the air vent. And then what will happen, of course, is you will screw those screws up there. So there we go, the two screws are in. You can see the pipe comes along, it's properly connected up here. If you wonder what this is, that's my regulator. That can actually go through that hole, because that's where it's going to go. And this wonderful piece here, believe it or not, that is your igniter, and this thing has a battery igniter that we're using. And this is basically what it looks like up top. So, like I said, that piece right here is ignition wire, right? And it's going to go and plug in right there. It might be a little tough to get that on, but be gentle. And that's basically what it looks like when it's on the igniter. And I just let it kind of hang there a bit, kind of formed a little bit and pushed a little bit to the front, because they give you a lot of wire. Now, one thing I tell you to do is go check the rest of your burners and make sure they're lined up properly, because if they're not, that can cause a real fire hazard. Okay, make sure they're all just like that. So here I am, I'm looking up, and you can see this is your burner, and this is where it comes through, and I'm just checking to make sure they're all fitting through the holes properly, and it all seems good. Okay, we've gotten to the point in the manual where they tell you to put all the heat burner assemblies in place. You know, those wonderful looking pieces of tint. What I'm going to tell you to do instead of doing that is I'm going to tell you to go ahead and put the battery into your igniter right there. It's very simple. All you have to do is unscrew the cap with your hand like so. Yeah. And then you take the battery, and I believe they have the positive down on this one. Let's take a look inside. Yep, looks like positive end down, and the other end goes up, like so. And screw that back on. Good enough. Doesn't have to be overly tight, just enough. Now, see if the igniters work. If they don't work, then A, you got something wrong, like the battery being in backwards, or B, the igniter switch is not working properly. And that's why I say leave the caps off and try it, because you never know. Maybe you got it the wrong way around. Just gentle when you do the screw, putting the cap back on. It's plastic. And you could just as easy break it There we go. So what you want to check now is, are the igniters firing? So let's check number one. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one's kind of light, and but it's there. Yep. So now you know at least your igniters are working when you go to spark. And if you hold it down really long, you get multiple sparks. Okay, so now it's time to put the heat caps on. So one of the things I like about this barbecue, by the way, is it's smartly designed. I mean, it's simple, but it's smartly designed, because if you're going to put the heat cap on, they've got it built in. They don't have some little tray that could rust off in the future. You know, they've actually built it as part of the main box assembly here and there. And so the cap just basically fits and drops right in there, really nice and neat. And so you can do that real quick and easy with all the caps. There's no special lining, there's no nothing. Just go ahead and put your caps in. So there we go, we got all 4 caps in. Doesn't that look smart? And then over here you got your grill plate right here. It's really simple, just locks into the 2 holes, and away you go, right? And then you got all 4 caps. So just that, I think that just looks great. Now I'm going to put the grills on. Again, these ones are stainless steel. You get good and bad. I don't know. With the porcelain ones, it's too easy to chip them and break them, I think, unless you're going to go for an expensive grill where they really baked them on. But the stainless steel, I think it looks better. I'll have to see how it works out over time. I've never had stainless steel grills before. I'm going to put the top piece on and put the grills in, and I'll show you what it looks like when I come back. So there's what it looks like when the grills are in. I just think that looks great. Now the one thing I like about this warming rack that's up here, and it's a little different from most barbecue racks, is this. It actually sits into the holes. It doesn't slide to side. You know, when you're rolling your dogs, the thing starts sliding off or whatever. This one actually sits in there. Just make sure you put your back piece up there. It doesn't go in the front, it goes in the back, so that you don't have stuff rolling off the back of the grill. I mean, that's up to you if you want to do it the other way around. I guess it's a matter of choice, but that's the way I do it anyway. I think it just makes things easier. So as we're putting this together, you notice one thing, the bottom's rather open down here. There is a whole tray that actually slides in here, and again, that's one of the reasons I chose it, is it's got this whole tray for cleaning the whole bottom end. You just slide it out. We're going to put that in place right now. I'm going to show you how that goes in. So here we have the grease tray right here, this big plate, grease and droppings tray. And it's really kind of nice because of 2 things. First of all, it just slides into the bottom. Second of all, if we get back far enough, you can see the whole thing is angled into one big puddle, which culminates down here into what will be the grease or catch pen, which just sits right underneath. And all you have to do for this whole bottom tray, bang, there it is. And as you can see, it's got this nice angle. Everything comes down into one area. For cleaning, it'll be simple. It'll be nice. You don't have to sit there and take burners out and all that kind of stuff. You just pull the tray, clean the tray, and put it back. You lose food, well, guess what? You know, when you sacrifice a burger to the gods, you can at least pull it out of the tray without having to vacuum, suck, burn, whatever. You can just pull the whole tray out and dump it into your organics bin. So that's what it'll look like on the back side with the whole grease tray and pot, and as you can see, the whole thing just kind of angles back really nice into that pot. Now it's time to hook up the tank and ignite it and see how the flames look. So here we are, we're about ready to insert our tank. You'll notice I got my valve hanging down here, and you notice this wonderful thumb screw. Well, what you do is you drop the tank in, you tighten the thumb screw, make sure your tank is sitting in a nice upright position, you know, and kind of line up your valve and your valve stem from your tank, and then go ahead and tie it all up. Make sure it sits well, and then go ahead and perform a leak test, which is usually done with a spray bottle and some soapy water, and make sure you got no leaks. Explosions are no fun. Just a quick little note, when you're doing your tank valves and stuff, hand tighten, not wrench tighten. You don't want to break it. These things are meant to be just hand tightened. You don't need to wrench tighten. But when you're doing your thumb screw, just, you know, snug it up. It doesn't have to be overly tight. It's just there, you know, to hold the tank so it doesn't flop around too easily. And like I said, go ahead and perform a leak test to open up your valves a little bit. Spray it with a bit of soapy water, see if you have any leaks. If you got no leaks, then you're ready to go. So this is my first time igniting it, and so what I want to do is I want to take the hoods off and the grills off. I just want to see how the igniters light her up and give it a go. Alright, now it's very simple. You basically turn your right knob to the right, press your igniter, and let her flare on. So let's see what that looks like right now. We'll just place this up here. Make sure that's secure. Yep. Okay. So let's turn the knob to the right. Hit the igniter. Voila. Let's do the same for this one. This one. And that one. Oop. And the side burner. Now let's turn off the lights. Isn't that pretty? So your flames should be nice and blue, maximum about 1.5 inches high, and you know, that one's of course going to be a little bit off whack. It's your burner for your bottom of your pots. Just turn it down. I had it fully up. Now I'm going to turn these. I got these fully up. Now one of the ways to check is by looking through the hole right here. And you can see the burners, all right? And you can see they're nice. They're nice and level. A little bit of yellow here and there. So overall, I think you know, it's a really smart-looking barbecue. I like the features it has with the pull-out tray. The lid's got a nice dial on it, which actually has not just a flat thing, but it's actually got a measuring device that comes into it, and easy to replace if you need to. It's not formed as part of the lid. You can actually unscrew it and replace it. The overall grill surface looks smart. I like this. It's looks like a brand new car, man. It's got the chrome grills and the heaters. You know, the knobs work smooth and nice. It has an electric start for all grills, not just one grill and then has to use a jumping tray in the back. I've had those before where it jumps the flame from one burner to the next burner. This actually has 4 separate lighters, and they actually give you in here a matchstick like they do with most of them. They got the little matchstick, a lighter piece that if you need to light it that way you can. The overall grill I think looks nice. I mean the cooking pot area looks nice. It's got a beautiful tray assembly to go with it. Overall, I just like it. No, you know, it's not an $800 barbecue. It's a $400 barbecue. So no, it doesn't have the tank measure for weight and how full your tanks are. I guess that's nice to have. But you know, for a guy who wants something clean and easy, this thing is just smart. I like it. I like the view. I like the look. I like the operation. Wasn't overly difficult to put together. You know, you got to make sure you got your alignments just to make sure it aesthetically looks nice. I mean, you're going to be sitting there looking at this thing. You want it to look, you know, somewhat nice. Get yourself a nice cover for it. You know, so if you're leaving it outside or if you have it in a covered area that gets weather, get yourself a cover for it. That way you get at least 3, 4, maybe 5 years of good service. Maybe longer. The other thing that I liked about this one, of course, is it's got the casters. I can move this thing around because I don't generally keep my barbecue locked in one place. I like to move it around. I pull it away from the wall when I'm barbecuing, that kind of stuff. And it's got the lock wheels in the back so I can lock it. So this is my little project with the Dyna barbecue. What I'd like to let you know is if you like what you see, hit like and subscribe at the bottom, and we'll come up with some more projects. I've got a Barbie castle. We'll talk about that later. Bye. So here's the outside appearance. As you can see, it's not too bad except for one little portion right here. What happened is one of my boys, they turned on the barbecue. They didn't open up the lid. They just lit up the burner. And yeah, he actually burnt his hand a little bit on that one. Not too brilliant, but probably scrubbed it off. Just left it for now. Overall, the appearance of the barbecue is pretty good. I've had it outside all the season. There's the tank still sitting down here. This is probably about my third tank right now after doing refills. And this is the inside. You can see the covers are nicely got stuff all over them. I've done a lot of cleaning, but that's not rust, that's just stuff. I haven't scrubbed it down yet after my last cook. Overall though, it's been holding up pretty good. I still like the performance. What I did, if you look down inside, I actually lined the bottom end with tin foil. And the reason for doing that is really quite simple. When it comes time to clean it, I just need to pull the tin foil away, and voila, nice and clean. That way I don't have to scrub down the tray or scrape it down. I just grab this tin, pull it out, pull out the tin foil, and basically just dump the tin foil. So much easier that way, so much cleaner. And then of course the grease spot right here, and as you can tell, it's got some stuff. I haven't cleaned that. So this is just a follow-up on it. 4 months. I like it. It does a good job of barbecuing. The one thing is it does have a few warm spots. Like for instance, the back is usually a little bit warmer than the front. I find that with a lot of barbecues that happens. But other than that, I like it that it's got 4 burners, and each one of those burners basically has ignition. So when I hit that ignition button, boom, it works. Like I say, 4 months later, those igniters are still working just fine, which is great. So that's just a follow-up on the Dyna barbecue, and I've been really enjoying cooking with it. Just thought I'd give you a quick little review after 4 months of use. Alright? Thank you. Bye. One last little thing, if you like what you've seen here, just click on the like and subscribe for Ghostly Rich, and this is Big Daddy O signing off.